What's going on, gang? Today's recipe is based off of my croissant dough recipe. It's a variation. Use a base dough if you have one already. If you don't have a recipe, go check my link in the description and I'll also post the recipe there. The only difference with this is we're going 100% bread flour. Let's get started. So, first thing we're going to do is we're going to weigh out some of our ingredients. For our pastry cream, we're going to start with 3 units of egg yolks, preferably large. And to that, we're going to add 50 grams of granulated white sugar. And then we'll just follow up by blanching our egg yolks, giving them a really strong whisk until we get nice pale ribbons all the way through. And we will add to our mix 10 grams of cornstarch and 10 grams of flour, all purpose. Just make sure that you sift it, and we want to avoid getting any lumps. You can do all cornstarch or all flour. I just find both of them have different properties. Cornstarch is a little bit gummier if you add a bit too much, and flour tends to get pasty, but it does stick to the product a little bit better, so it really is just a preference. So I have vanilla and 250 grams of milk. I'm going to bring that to a boil, not a roaring boil, just a boil. And I'm going to add that to my egg yolk mixture. And I'm going to make sure that we whisk vigorously so that we don't end up with scrambled eggs. And we're going to add that mixture back to our original pot. And we're just going to bring that back to a boil or until our gluten activates. But you want to make sure you're constantly whisking to avoid any scrambled eggs. Reserve in a bowl and make sure that you apply the cling film directly to your pastry cream. For my pain au chocolat, I decided to just pipe out tempered chocolate into batons and then I would cut to size. Alternatively, you could just use chocolate chips. Either way, it smells great. For our pain au chocolat to assemble, we're going to cut our dough nice and straight, and we're going to add our batons. I'm going to do 2 per pain au chocolat. I just find that there's never enough chocolate in them, like especially after the first bite. 2 is sort of the insurance policy. What you want to do is just fold the first side and then put the other one, but you don't want to roll too tight, but just enough. And because, we're manipulating these guys a little bit more, I always think it's good to just pop them in the cooler, let them rest for about 20 minutes before you even think about proofing. To finish our pastry cream, we're just going to give it a good whip so we bring it back to working consistency, and then we're just going to add 30 grams of pistachio paste. Whip it, 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 whip it. To assemble our pastry, we're now just going to plop some of our pastry cream in the middle, and we're going to make sure we spread it evenly throughout. Just make sure that you're not doing too thick of a layer. You want things to stick to it, but you don't want it to push out the sides. And to top it off, we just add our chocolate chips. Make sure you leave about a ½ inch at the top so we're able to dab a little bit of water there, and that's going to work as a seal. And then when it comes to rolling these bad boys, it's super important that you work very quickly, and also just make sure that you're going to fold that first part. So kind of sneak your fingers into there and fold, 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 fold. And then from there, we're going to want to roll it all the way up to the top. And it's really important here to just use your fingertips to roll your dough up. You want to make sure you're applying the least amount of pressure possible so we don't lose any of that good filling. To portion our dough, you want to make sure you cut off the extremities and you score 4 equal points. Make sure you have something as a reference. I like to use my weird skinny fingers. Go ahead and make your cuts. Make sure you cut them relatively quickly, and also make sure you're using a sharp knife so not only do we not lose any of our layers, but we also don't push any of our delicious filling out the sides. Place them on a baking sheet and get them prepped and ready to go into the proofer. Make sure you are gentle with these cute little guys. So before proving my fancy viennoiserie, I decided to line a couple tart rings with some foil, which was nice and greased up for my pistachio pastries, just because I want them to kind of bake in a more upright position. I baked this batch at about 190 degrees Celsius for approximately 25 minutes. I let them go a little bit longer. So for a couple of my escargot pistache, I decided to apply a nappage. In this case, it's more of a ghetto nappage because I didn't have any gelatin. I just used simple syrup. It's not the end of the world. It also adds a nice sheen to your pastry, and it helps the pistachios stick. And honestly, it smells really good. Okay, wrap it up, Kieran. I hope you like this video. Please like and subscribe. I'll see you again very, very, very soon.
That's pretty good. Oh, Jesus.